Russia is accumulating reserves on the territory of Belarus. Ukraine must launch a preemptive strike against it. This statement was made by the former Deputy Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Lieutenant General Igor Romanenko, who worked on Ukrainian television as an expert. According to Romanenko, Ukraine needs to follow Israel's example and strike preemptively, especially since Russia is allegedly again using the territory of Belarus to train its troops. Maybe Putin has already made a decision to act from Belarus, and in this sense, we need to learn from the Israelis. That means we need to hit all these Russian troops and everything that is on the territory of even Belarus, declared the general. According to Romanenko, Russia is preparing strategic reserves that have not been deployed for quite a long time, despite the situation at the front. As the general suggests, Moscow will use them in the northern direction, repeating the 2022 attack with the capture of Kiev in order to put a final end to this conflict. In such a scenario, Ukraine will have no choice but to throw all its forces into defending the capital, exposing other directions which could lead to the capture of other regions by Russian troops. The aggressor country, Russia, may resort to provocations or demonstrative actions towards the Ukrainian border during military exercises in Belarus, said Andrei Demchenko, spokesman for the State Border Service of Ukraine. We are actively monitoring this in order to understand how many of its villages Russia can or plans to involve in these exercises and, in fact, where they will take place. There is preliminary information that they may be held deeper into the territory of Belarus, if we are talking about the direction with the Ukrainian border. It is difficult for me to say what this is connected with. Perhaps Belarus really does have some concerns about this, he said on the air of the telephone. According to Demchenko, as of now, there is no active phase of Russian-Belarusian exercises. In addition, there are currently no Russian strike groups on the territory of the Republic of Belarus that could pose a threat to Ukraine. For us, of course, the priority is to study the information that we can receive on the active phase of joint exercises, because it is at this time that the risk to our country can increase. We cannot rule out some demonstrative actions in the direction of our border, but our main task is to be ready for any development of situations, the speaker added.
Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz warned residents to evacuate parts of Tehran on Tuesday as Israel's air campaign on Iran's capital appeared to broaden on the fourth day of an intensifying conflict. Residents of Tehran, do not endanger yourselves and do not become hostages in the hands of the dictator who uses you for his survival, Katz said. According to Associated Press on Monday, the defense minister held a situational assessment with Chief of Staff Major General Eyal Zamir and other senior military officials. The conflict between Israel and Iran has wreaked considerable damage in both countries and caused casualties on both sides. Israel says its sweeping assault on Iran's top military leaders, uranium enrichment sites and nuclear scientists, is necessary to prevent its longtime adversary from getting any closer to building an atomic weapon. Iranian ballistic missile attacks on Israel have killed at least 24 people across the country. In Iran, Israeli strikes have killed at least 224 people since Friday. Israeli struck key weapons depots in Iran as well as manufacturing sites around the country. Israel claims it has achieved complete aerial superiority over Tehran. That's after a punishing airstrike campaign that Israel says has destroyed Iran's air defenses and targeted sites across the capital city. Iranian ballistic missile attacks have damaged buildings in and around major Israeli cities, including Tel Aviv. In Haifa, strikes killed 3 and injured dozens Monday. Also hit was the small Arab Israeli city of Tamra, in northern Israel, where a strike killed 4 women from the same family. Israeli strikes have taken out much of the leadership and intelligence officers of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, a paramilitary force operating parallel to the country's armed forces that controls Iran's stock of ballistic missiles.
אני מזהיר את הדיקטטור האיראני מהמשך ביצוע פשעי מלחמה וירי טילים לעבר אזרחי ישראל. כדאי שיזכור מה עלה בגורלו של הדיקטטור במדינה השכנה לאיראן שהלך בדרך הזאת נגד מדינת ישראל. אנחנו נמשיך גם היום לפעול נגד יעדי משטר ויעדים צבאיים בטהרן, כפי שעשינו אתמול מול רשות שידורי התעמולה וההסתה. אני קורא לתושבי טהרן להתפנות מאותם מקומות בהתאם להנחיות דובר צה"ל בפרסית לשם הגנתם. תושבי טהרן, אל תסכנו את עצמכם ואל תהיו בני ערובה בידי הדיקטטור שמשתמש בכם לצורך הישרדותו. ידה ארוכה של ישראל תוסיף להגיע לכל אויב ובכל מקום.
Iran launched hundreds of ballistic missiles toward Israel on Friday night in what it dubbed Operation Severe Punishment. Sirens rang out across Israel, and explosions could be seen in Tel Aviv. Iranian Brigadier General Ahmad Vahidi, the chief advisor to the IRGC commander, said that during the True Promise 3 response operation, 3 Israeli air bases used as launch pads for attacks on Iran were hit. He said that the targets were the Nevatim and Ovda bases, where Israel's command center and electronic warfare center are located, the Tel Naf air base near Tel Aviv, the Israeli Defense Ministry and its industrial and military centers in Tel Aviv. In total, more than 150 targets were hit. The general said Israel made serious miscalculations in its attack on Iran and warned Israelis to be prepared for the consequences. Iranian ballistic missiles struck the Kiryat compound, the headquarters of the Israeli armed forces, which is considered Israel's equivalent of the Pentagon. In the course of the evening, Iran fired about 150 ballistic missiles at Israel, a correspondent for Fox News reported. Part of those missiles breached air defenses and struck important sites, particularly the Kiryat compound, a strategic military center in downtown Tel Aviv that houses the headquarters of Israel's armed forces. This is Israel's equivalent of the Pentagon, Kiryat. And a building in this compound has just been hit, the journalist explained. He said an entire block was almost completely destroyed. Rescuers were clearing the rubble, trying to find traces of possible bodies, the journalist noted. Despite the active work of Israeli and American missile defense systems such as Iron Dome, David's Arrow, Patriot and THAAD, some missiles were able to overcome the defenses. Recall, there has been a night of intense fighting between Israel and Iran, with the two sides trading fire and explosions heard in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem and Tehran. Israel says the goal is to damage Iran's nuclear program. Officials believe that Iran is in a weak position. Its air defenses had been degraded in airstrikes last year and its proxies in the region, particularly Hezbollah in Lebanon, have been severely damaged, and have said that, in their view, there was a window of opportunity to act. The Israel Defense Forces says it is continuing airstrikes on targets in Iran. In a brief statement posted to Telegram, the IDF said that the Israeli Air Force continues to strike targets to remove threats in Iran. The comments were posted alongside a video showing footage of aerial strikes. It comes more than 24 hours after Israel's initial strike on Iran's military bases, which killed 3 Iranian military commanders, according to the IDF.